Hey everybody, it's day 14 of SSSVEDA. It's Peter, and today's question is, what's the hardest part of your job? The real question is, how long do we have? Warning out to anybody who's OCD, ADD, or a squirrel admirer, this might get a little winded or long-winded. Because I'm going to talk about the job I'm currently actually away from. I actually work for a local ISP company, and I've been working in the call center since '03. So I took a break in 14 because the job just finally got to me. So I was working in the high-speed department, and when I initially started my job, we only had to support a handful of modems, and there was nothing but modems. There were no routers, there was no wireless, and we had X amount of time, to take care of the calls. We also had to support people using computers, Mac and Windows. So at the time, it wasn't too bad. I did get some pretty horrific calls in the beginning. And as time went on, then we evolved into providing wireless routers that had built-in modems. So we had all these things to do. So lots of multitasking, lots of things to do in a short or reasonably short period of time. But sometimes, some calls would take longer. My problem initially in the beginning was I did like to sort of over-explain. One of my first managers, pretty smart, he's like, he just said, you know what, dude, just shut up. Stick with yes or no questions. Unless the customer says to you why something happens, they just say, is this what the problem is? You go, yes. Is this going to fix it? Yes or no, right? So just, keep it, the old KISS and KISS acronym, keep it simple, stupid. But as time went on over, the last 10, 11 years, it was like, okay, you're going to have more equipment to support, but still the same amount of time. Oh, we're actually finding some people are getting it done quicker. So now you have less amount of time, but more tasks to do while you're on the call. That's what I was finding. It was basically like, here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing. And we're supporting what, and we're doing this, and we're doing that, and still less and less time. That was another hard part of the job too. I originally did IT when I was in the printing business. That's why this could end up being a long vlog because I sort of want to compare how my jobs were before. The last couple of jobs I had was basically doing IT support. So somebody would give me a phone call, I just come over to their desk, okay, what's going on? Or you gotta support the equipment so you're hands-on the whole time. You don't have to try to going like, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go here, 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 and here, and here. Right, no, they're there. But trying to, verbally tell somebody in a short period of time, sometimes you had to fall back on, do you have somebody else that can come over to the house? Can you do these things? So, dealing with people that are not so great with technology. I would say inept, but that's a strong word. There's all sorts of old school IT stories of, you still have the box your computer originally came in. Sometimes you wish you could say these things to customers like, do you have the original box? Put it back in the box, take it back to the store because you should not be owning and operating a computer. What I found was getting more cumbersome and sort of more stressful was basically doing more with less. You're going to do more support, more things. Here's some more things to support. Oh, yes, we're also having this kind of device. Right, you're going to support that as well. But since I've been off, I actually bumped into somebody the other day, and they were giving me a quick rundown, and now everybody is totally cross-qualified. So the cable guys are doing internet calls. The internet guys are now doing cable calls. But what I found was stressful was basically like having to do all this and do so many calls a day. And the other thing they started adding on too was to help out sort of the building department with something, sell stuff. There wasn't a push on the selling other than you had to do at least 4 sales in the month. And when we had a support team as well that we were offering, you had to do so many times saying to somebody, go to the support team for non-supported items like troubleshooting an Xbox or setting up a third-party router or other equipment that was not supported by our team. And also doing things on time, saying the rhetoric all the time, every time, hey, how you doing? I'm so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. You had the script to do all the time, stay on script, stay on target. Later on, too, oh, you didn't sound like you were happy or smiling on the call. There are times where I could be like, hey, how you doing? Not too bad. You build a rapport with somebody. Isn't that funny? Hey, how was the game yesterday? Okay, let's fix our problems. No, I can certainly help you with that. And things like that, right? After a while, what I found was, and I said this to one of the HR reps when I was trying to sort out myself before I actually just basically bit the bullet and took the time off. I was doing this for 11 years, and I compared it to basic training in the Army, which is 11 weeks. And for those first initial 11 weeks, you have to be spot on the ball, all the time. You're doing drill, you're ironing things, you're laying stuff, because it's all about discipline, and because you need these sort of things to sort of keep your mind sharp and disciplined, because one day you may be in the thick of it, one day you may be in the middle of something, and you have to be kind of focused and kind of as razor sharp as you can be. So doing all these other things, which sounds silly, like learning how to march in a straight line, sort of like focusing yourself on tasks at hand, will hopefully help you when it's down to the crunch and you have to be in the middle of things and you're learning how to do things by repetition. So hopefully that it sinks in. The same thing if you do a martial art as well. You have to practice and practice and practice till you get to the point where it's instinctual. So that's what all this job was too at the call center, was basically this repetition all the time. But I felt like it was like every day had to be spot on all the time. And for me, unless you're a mechanical device of some sort, which will fail eventually as well. I mean, sure, you can train somebody to do the same thing over and over again and make sure you cross the I's and dot the T's absolutely every single time. But I found there were some instances where, well, you didn't say that correctly or properly, or you forgot to say the word the, or you didn't say thank you enough times. Sometimes you would just forget. So some of the things we did do were smart. Since I've been off, though, we were going back on old things of like, go check out the help site. Well, what if somebody's system is down? You can't say go to the help site. Well, next time. And I just saw an email again the other day where they said, you know what, we're not going to push that anymore. Well, we did that about 5-6 years ago, where we said go to the help section on the internet, and when the system is down, you have to send a technician out for repairs. Customer's going to just come back with you like, I can't go on the internet right now, or I can't check this. Why are you telling me these things? And to me, some of that was frustrating too, as part of the job. It's just being told to do certain things that doesn't make sense. And the reason I mentioned the military, and also my other job too, what I found was, and that was the frustration of this job doing for a while. I mean, I could have gone to something else, but I sort of have a thicker skin. But I think my thickness I finally wore out after the 11 years. After high school, I waited a bit and then I went into the military. I actually was going to try and go into electronics. I ended up getting talked into combat arms, armor corps, doing reconnaissance and driving tanks eventually for 7 years, which was a pretty cool job. And that job too, like once you get the initial training and the basics done, and then it becomes more of a 9-to-5 job when you're in garrison, when you're not out in the field and training. But my progression was like initially, well, I was trained to be a soldier, but not trained on vehicles. Okay, well, you know what? We got a bunch of you guys. You know what? In 6 months, we're going to train you guys. So we trained this. Okay, once I got trained, fine. You're trained on this vehicle. We are not moving you over to those types of vehicles. You will be now a driver. I did that for a couple of years. I was then, okay, we're going to move you to another vehicle. Well, you know what? You're going to be the observer and the radio operator, but sometimes you have to run around and do stuff when we're stopped. And I'm sort of like, well, I don't really like, I know it sounds funny, I'm in the Army, but yeah, I prefer driving to running around. Well, the other guy, when I was assigned to another vehicle and we made a verbal agreement with the other guy, he said, I said to Joe, you like running around, right? He said, yeah, tell you what, I'll drive, you run around. He'll like, cool. We talked to the crew commander, he's just like, yeah, that works, whatever. All this was happening, basically during the Cold War. We weren't so pumped up as things are like nowadays after, in the 90s, and all these other things are happening after Desert Storm and, all the Iraqi war and all these other things happened. So the guys were training for more stuff. We were sort of training for what if the Russians came over the hill, which they never did. My point is, though, like all my time, like I was 7 years in, and at least every 6 months to a year, I was always in a different position. So there was variety. And then when I went to Germany for 5 years, when I first went there, I went to the transport section for headquarters. And I said, okay, you're going to be driving those things. Okay, great. And then while I was doing that job, and then we came back to garrison after some of our training, and it's like, oh, you don't know how to drive the other things or the trucks? Great, we'll teach you how to drive trucks. Great. And then after I learned how to drive, certain types of trucks, okay, you know what? You're going to drive a truck now for a while, which I did. The first 3 years of Germany, and then after driving the trucks, we had a big competition in '87 with all the other NATO countries on a tank gunnery competition called CAT. It was the Canadian Army Trophy. I was involved in that on support for a few months, and then after that I said, you know what, we're switching things up. You learned how to drive a tank the other day, didn't you? Right. We're going to throw you over on this tank. Okay, fine. Which was kind of scary because it was 2 years. In 85 I learned how to drive, 87. So I'm like, where's the gas? And you have to sort of reorient yourself. So that was kind of funny. Next year I switched over to driving the track ambulance. So I did that for a year. The next year, okay, you know what? We're going to throw you over there. You're going to be loading on the tank you used to drive, and you're going to be sort of like second in command of the tank. Great. My point is like I was always doing something different in 7 years. So after doing basic training, there was always this variety. I moved around. There was always something going on. The job I'm presently doing with the call center, I mean, there was variety in the changing, but again, it was like the whole pancake stacking of like this. And I think that's what sort of eventually wore me out. It's just like, how much, you can only do so much stuff, remember so many things, and eventually, my doctor called it repetitive stress syndrome with people. You can only work somebody so long over a period of time, and eventually they may fall. So the other thing too, when I was in the Army, if you had potential, well, you know what? You got potential. We'll put you on a leadership course. See how that works. I mean, it didn't always work because sometimes some people did go on leadership courses and they got put in charge of things. And it's like, really? You put that guy in charge of the whatever? It's like, no, that's a mistake because it's going to go south all of a sudden. After the Army, went back to school, learned about computers and basics on 3D animation and things like that, fixing with computers. So that's where I got my computer skills that I have today. And then after that, trying to find work, I ended up in the printing business just because, long story short, I was looking around, I couldn't find anything, but a friend of the family, they were looking for a part-timer, and I was just there to throw out stuff. It was a printing company, and basically all the archive jobs and work and, parts of the job, well, we had to throw this stuff out because we only got X amount of room in the basement to put stuff. So jobs are X amount of time old, out you go. Luckily, when I came in, I started on a Monday. The guy I was working for, he was actually being groomed to move upstairs to one of the other departments, and they were looking for a replacement for him. Well, on Tuesdays, just like, hey, you ever work supply, do this, do that? How organized are you? And said, yeah, I did a similar job. I ran a coffee shop for 6 months in the Army, ordering stock, bringing stuff in, handling money, that kind of thing. Sure, I can do that. And by Thursday, it was just like, yeah, you're doing that job. So I did supply and archiving. Did that for a year, and then they're like, oh, one of the guys is moving to another section, and we needed a guy in production. You want to do that job? Sure, great. Did that for about 2 years or so. I got pulled into the IT department, and actually what was nice was I was asked, oh, I need Peter in the IT department. Great. But there was a job there too. I was there for 5 years, and I got moved around. Basically where I was needed. Like, oh, and somebody saw potential, or say, hey, how'd you like that job? Sure, I will do that job. Then I'm going back to school again to pick up more skills, and basically through word of mouth again, I end up working where I am now. So long and short of it, that's the one downfall I found of this job. There was no variety or not enough opportunities, and some of the opportunities were only given to people who had like a grade point average of 4. We had a marking system of 1 to 4, so depending on how you did for the year, if you did really well, you might go on a special project. But one of my concerns was, and I brought it up to a couple of managers, was, and this used to be in the Army too, we used to joke about it, like, if you see somebody's really good at something, then give them the opportunity to go there kind of thing. Or if you see like, well, they're really good at that. And I had so many times I was commented, well, you're really good at that thing, but you're kind of a little lacking in that. Well, how about find me a spot maybe? If you know, like, hey, he's really good at that. We need somebody like that. Let's move him over there. But I'm working for a big corporation. And you're just one of the little guys. If you really, really don't work out, and I had a couple of workmates, a couple of guys I went through training for the company. They weren't working. They weren't hitting the marks. They eventually, but maybe I'm not suited for this anymore. That's going to be the next question later this year. Actually, my doctor, who's been really helpful to me during these tough times, he said actually what some companies should do is, after say 9 to 10 years, should take their people and retrain them or send them on a course. But I seem to have the luck over time of either things worked my way or I just got lucky and things shifted and, oh yeah, we need you over here. So there's, people did recognize or see an opportunity with me and kind of just, I just lucked out. Oh yeah, we need a guy over there. Hey, get Peter. Peter will do that. Great. This place is more like too many cogs, and it's sort of like if a cog breaks, replace it with another one. But I just found I had luck. Things just kind of went my way. Always had somewhere nice to work at, things to do, and you get support at certain levels. But on some levels, and I think it's just because you're working in a really big place, sometimes I just felt I was just like, I'm just another, cog in the wheel. I'm just a number. I was also going through a bit of a revelation of, like, I don't know, as a whole, as people, we gotta chill out more. Or organizations, like, you know what? Yeah, you gotta get a product out. Yeah, you get something out, but like, why are you like, beating up on your people? Take care of your people a bit better. And I always feel like coming from the military, you have to take care of your troops. You can't just tell somebody to go on and go on and go on and then not have their back, or like, hey, they need a break. Or like, I felt when I was getting off too, my doctor called it PTSD. I don't call it that because I have buddies that were in the thick of it, in the 90s and the 2000s, and they saw a lot of crap and they have PTSD. I have a mild form of it, maybe. There is still wear and tear, there is burnout, because if you do so many things too many times, and if you don't take care of it or look into it or take care of your people a bit better, eventually things will falter. The bottom line from this lengthy story, find something you really like, something you like to do, and hopefully it's not stressful and it's going to kill you. And if you need to take a break, take a break. Because you only live once, unless you're into reincarnation. Just hopefully you don't come back as a call center representative. So anyway, what's the hardest part of your job? In the comments below. Like if you like, dislike if you don't like, and we'll see you tomorrow.